Welcome to the Sports Beat with Nick. I am your host, Nicholas Escalera, and I bring you all things Tigers sports. There was a lot of action going on in the realm of RCC athletics, one being the devastating loss for the Tigers as they fell to the Fullerton College Hornets 45-29 in last Saturday's Southern California Regional Final. I have to give them a round of applause for an outstanding season they had this year. They finished 10-2, winning the National Central Division, beating Saddleback in the Southern California Bowl, and making it to the state semis against Fullerton, in which my opinion was one hell of a game for both teams, really. Other than that third quarter when Fullerton broke out for 21 points, Riverside really held their own against the Hornets. You take away that third quarter, the Tigers held the Hornets to 24 points, which was right about their team average given up all season. But hey, that's why you play all four quarters. The thing that really surprised me, though, was how well Fullerton held the Riverside run game to only 66 yards. That kept El Toro Allen under 50 and Seth Acted at just 12, with a few other yards here and there from other players. So Riverside really had to rely on their pass game, but that was nothing new for them. Colin Anderson threw for 337 yards, which in most games, that's going to give you a victory. But he did have an interception that was ran back for a touchdown, and he wasn't able to complete some key passes late in the game when he needed to. Another thing that was not favorable for them was just before the half, they had to punt the ball, but they only had 10 men on the field. And when Fullerton saw that, it took the advantage. They double teamed on one of the guys to create a hole right up the middle. And once he got through that hole, he was headed straight for the end zone. There was really nobody around him. But if you look back at the numbers, you take away those two mistakes, this game's just about even, and it might have even gone to overtime. Both teams finished with 21 first downs. Their third down efficiency, Fullerton had 28%, Riverside had 21. That's pretty close. And total offense was right around 400, 405 to 403. That's a 2-yard difference. The only thing that was difference in this game was how much Fullerton put pressure on Anderson compared to Riverside on Fullerton's Jordan Hoy. Fullerton had 7 sacks totaling for 26 yards, while Riverside had no sacks at all. So, in reality, the numbers are identical for both teams. It looked like you were watching the same team play against themselves, but Fullerton just put more pressure than Riverside. Although the passing game was very successful for the most part, we had an offensive MVP for the game that went to Jacoby Herring. He had 6 catches for 124 yards. That went along with his 2 touchdowns. So Herring really came to his own, to be honest, these last couple weeks, especially in the playoffs. He recorded 5 touchdowns, 2 in this game, for almost 300 yards. That was a big part of Riverside during this playoffs. Even though they weren't able to come out with that state championship they were hoping, that's still a big accomplishment right there for Jacoby Herring himself. But hey, as the saying goes, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and sometimes it rains. But I want to move along. Fall season pretty much officially over for RCC. Had a couple state champions, had another team that was almost a state champion, some runners up, some were pretty close, but now we're moving into the winter season. Men's basketball so far 6-2 this far into their season. They have a tournament championship in both the Ventura and Victor Valley Invitational, as well as a couple close heartbreaking losses. One was to West Valley 96-92. That one was in overtime. And then their other one was 79-71 to Antelope Valley. Both of those losses actually came in the San Bernardino tournament. So the season's looking bright for RCC basketball, both men's and women's. Men still have 2 tournaments left. They have one, which is the San Jacinto tournament. That one's going to be December 1st to 3rd. Their other is going to be their annual holiday tournament that they host every year at Wheelock State Gymnasium. That will be from December 6th to the 9th. And then as soon as we come back from Christmas break, we got a couple non-conference games, and then we jump right into conference on January 6th. So be on the lookout for RC men's basketball this year. Haven't done so well past few years, but they're on the right track right now. 6-2 through 8 games. That's pretty impressive. 2 very close losses to pretty decent teams. I wouldn't say they're terrible teams, but they're pretty good teams. Now the women, on the other hand, they're 8-1 through 9 games in the season. Their lone loss came to Palomar in the championship game of the Comet Classic, which is actually hosted by Palomar. That one was a final score of 75-54. So be on the lookout for both men's and women's. There's a lot to come in store. I mean, the women had a very decent season last year. The men had a very decent season last year. They didn't get where they wanted to, but right now they're both at a promising time of the year. You know, early in the season, playing some preseason tournaments, and both have won tournaments. Women won the tournament they hosted here in Riverside. They beat Cerritos, Rio Hondo, Santa Ana. Those three are really good teams. There's a pretty good chance we'll see them in the playoffs come playoff time. Just for like men, they've won a lot of big games for themselves too. I mean, we go back and look at their schedule. They beat teams like Moore Park, Palomar, Porterville, Victor Valley. Those aren't the higher end teams like the Orange Empire Conference with Orange Coast, Santa Ana, Fullerton, all of them. But hey, that's still a step in the right direction. So be on the lookout for both men's and women's this season. It's going to be a hell of a year. I can't wait. This will be the last time I'll be talking to you guys this semester. We're going to be going into our last 2-3 weeks of the school year. I'm going to be studying up for finals, all that good stuff. But come next spring semester, we'll get down to business with RCC men's and women's basketball, and also the spring sports as well. I will maybe do one more podcast in the winter, but hey, I'll be back here in the spring. Let's get down to it. Talk some Riverside sports, Tigers basketball, Tigers baseball, Tigers softball. It's going to be an interesting next semester. I can't wait for it. And thank you guys for having me. I'll see you guys next semester.